Arsenal blow away Fulham, Chelsea cruise past the Saints, and Jose lives to fight another day. Welcome to the Top Bins Premier League review for Gameweek 8. I'm Mike, he's Dave, and this is the Top Bins Premier League review for Gameweek 8. There's been plenty of action, plenty of big games and plenty of talking points, so we're going to get straight into it. We're going to go straight to probably not the upset of the weekend, but probably the performance of the weekend, and that was at Craven Cottage. Dave, Arsenal.
Looking good. Certainly looking good up front. And we were talking about this earlier, shades of Liverpool before Van Dijk here.
Yeah.
In that they're going to score a lot of goals, but they're going to concede a few.
It's just going to be entertaining football with them this season, I think. It's going to be good watching them.
Look, I'll tell you what, half these greys are from that first half of the season with Liverpool, though. It's hard to watch as a fan.
Yeah.
And a couple of moments, I mean, Viedo, very unlucky, perhaps should have scored. Great save by Leno early doors where he was just given the
deflection
ball.
on it as well, so it was even better save.
That's right. Yeah. Given the ball, though, early doors by a backline, that they were all sort of looking around it, and the replay's horrible. You see Monreal just looking around, who's going to get the ball, and Vieto scoops in. Yeah. Happened again in the second half. Monreal again was involved, but look, if they're going to score 5, they're going to win games, and the way, especially Lacazette, just looks so at home, doesn't he?
Mate, I've got to go back to that first episode that we recorded for Top Bins, the first game week of the Premier League, and we talked about Arsenal, how they looked a bit kind of same as what Wenger was doing. Nothing really changed. But I thought against Fulham was the first time I'm really been convinced that they're changing under Emery and that they're playing a different style of football. And that goal, that third goal, that Ramsey goal, what a goal that is. That's got to be up there with a goal of the season. Because that football, from one end of the pitch to the other, slick passing, sometimes not quite perfect passing either, and that's what made it even better, is that the little flick from Bellerin, it was nice, but it wasn't perfect. Ramsey had to stretch, but he kept the move going. He got the header away and he kept running. Lovely football, lovely finish from Ramsey. That, I mean, back from behind, like we saw with Felipe Anderson the other week, it's not an easy skill when the ball's there to make a decision that you're going to just have a little flick of it with a back heel and try and get it in, and that was a lot harder than the Felipe Anderson one. He's had to manufacture that goal himself, and I think absolutely top goal. But there was great goals from Lacazette, who looked full of confidence. Jeez, he looked good up front.
His turn for his first goal was just stunning. Great goal.
What you got to do there, Dave, is you got to look at the keeper. Bettinelli there has gone one way, thinking that Lacazette's spinning only halfway and going to flick the shot around, but he's done such a turn, such a pirouette, 360 pretty much, gone all the way round and then buried it in the other corner. Yeah. Brilliant goal. Aubameyang, when he came on, looked dangerous, looked full of pace, looked scary. And I mean, if you're looking at Arsenal coming up on your fixture list in the next few weeks, you're not going to be looking forward to what they're going to bring attacking wise. And look, defensive vulnerabilities, we've talked about them, and I still think they're there. I don't think they're up to it defensively, but if they're going to play like that going forward, they're going to cause a lot of teams problems.
And I think while they're not up to it defensively, I think with Leno in goal, they do look just a little bit better. Maybe 10 or 15% better than what they do with Petr Cech. Certainly coming out of defence.
Yeah. He definitely looks the part, more the part than Cech does, doesn't he?
He does. And I mean, his shot stopping, I know Petr Cech is a great shot stopper, but Bernd Leno's just looked great. A couple of fantastic reaction saves he made. Like you mentioned, deflection made that first save a lot harder.
It did. And
he still really looked pretty comfortable with it. I mean, look, they look great. Iwobi looks fantastic at the moment.
Looks like a player reborn under Emery, doesn't he?
And a lot of these guys are the guys that weren't performing for Wenger, and now you've got Emery's had a bit of time to get his game plan in, and we saw with his heat map last week, he's certainly getting up and down the touchline and screaming at his players, but they're listening.
Yeah, that's
right. And they're executing the game plan. And I don't think it, like you mentioned, Ramsey's goal, it doesn't get any better as a team goal than that. He's been on the pitch 15 seconds. He's involved, 3 or 4 times in that play. And everybody did their part. Like you say, some of the passing wasn't perfect. He had to stretch to get the header to Mkhitaryan, but Mkhitaryan's pass out to Aubameyang
on the inside of the defender. Yeah.
Great cross from a guy that prefers to play centrally, but out on the left, and fabulous cross in. I mean, everything about that goal was top draw.
They're looking dangerous. And Fulham are just fulfilling what we saw and what we thought they were going to fulfil before the game. They're just defensively naive, but also just I don't know what Jokanovic was doing, trying to change the system in a big game like that against a team who are looking good going forward. Why? I know that I understand what he's trying to do, but I don't know why. I think the timing was terrible. Like, they have been poor defensively, but I don't think that's the time to revamp how you're going to play as a team. And I think I think what he should have done is taken the international break as a time to really get that new system bedded in with his team. Not all of his squad are going to go away to international breaks, and when they do, when they come back, he can work with them on that new system, that new formation. But to do it almost rushed, almost as a reaction to previous games against Arsenal in a rich vein of form, I thought was a terrible decision from Jokanovic, and he got punished for it.
Well, we talked last week about how Cardiff aren't keeping any kind of consistency at the back, and it's costing them. Fulham have shipped more goals than anyone now.
Yeah.
They're in 17th position.
21 goals they've conceded.
That's horrific.
Only team not to keep a clean sheet.
No clean sheets. Home form isn't looking great in the sense that look at the goals they're shipping at home still.
Yep.
That's a worry.
You're conceding 5 at home, you've got to be worried. Like, don't matter who you're conceding 5 against. When you concede 5 at home, you have to be worried about the season in front of you.
A scoreline like that at the Emirates, honestly, while not great, doesn't read anywhere near as bad. No. But at Craven Cottage, that's horrific. And they've got a couple of weeks now to really try and sort that out.
They really have to sort it out.
Otherwise, we said they're going to have to buy in the summer, but boy, if they keep shipping goals like this, goal difference is going to play a big part in that bottom 4 or 5 teams.
Yep.
And at the moment, they're in deep trouble on goal difference already.
Big trouble. And I thought, look, credit where credit's due. Arsenal were fantastic, so let's not take it away from them. But Fulham didn't help themselves. I thought they were poor defensively, all over the place. Started off terribly. Like, you can't start off that slowly and give away chances and goals like they did. And they were punished. 2 strikers in banging form, midfield that looked very confident as well. Arsenal did the job, so well done, Arsenal. Onto another team that are in banging form at the moment, and looking very good going forward, and not so bad at the back as Arsenal are, and that's Chelsea. I'm sorry.
Chelsea, to me, I know that City have scored more goals, but in terms of play at the back and the front, Chelsea are the complete package in the Premier League at the moment. They look fabulous, and we'll get on to City later, but Chelsea just look great.
Chelsea have got a player that is, I think, the most in form in the Premier League at the moment with Eden Hazard. He looks unplayable at the moment. He's making runs from both channels, both wings. He's making runs inside defenders, outside defenders. He's cutting in on his right. He's taking them outside on his left. He's full of confidence. He gets a chance. You putting your money, your mortgage on him scoring. The only person I feel sorry for in that Chelsea setup at the moment is Sarri. I think someone needs to give him a cigarette. Yeah, because he is pacing that touchline.
He's struggling with
He looks like he's going to kill someone.
Apparently, that's the thing he hates the most about the Premier League. He was saying is he needs to be able to smoke on the touchline. He's losing the plot, but. Yeah. You mentioned Eden and just, no one's playing better than him at the moment. And nothing illustrates that more for me. And the desire, which is the key for me, because we've talked a lot about World Cup hangovers on the show. And we mentioned before that he looks to be going the other way.
He does.
A key example of that, you're talking 93rd minute.
Yep.
Game wrapped up against Southampton. They haven't got a hope of coming back.
Yep.
And they're just ticky-tacking around on the left-hand side. And then he just flips the switch and drives
into that gap.
No one in red and white saw that coming.
Nah, he's so good at that as well,
Hazard. Just fabulous.
It's how he's got the goal against your boys last week. Is that difference of he sees the gap, and he's not just seeing the gap. That's one thing. But he's driving with pace into that space. The defenders hate it. You can't mark against it. And he saw that gap, 93rd minute, and he just drove into it. Fantastic run, and very nice finish from Morata.
It was.
Who have a bit of confidence back after 2 goals in 2 weeks, or 2 goals in a week even, and he's back at it now.
And laying on a goal for a guy that needed a goal
it's huge. Yeah.
That's doing great things for your teammates, right? I mean, everyone else in that team is playing pretty well. I mean, Giroud's assist was acrobatic and pretty stunning, to be fair.
We know he's got it in his locker, though. Giroud's got that stuff in his locker. He doesn't score that many goals, but he's a very good setup man, and he's a great foil for teams. And you don't play in a World Cup winning team if you're shit. And he's definitely not shit. He just doesn't get enough goals. But when you got Hazard and Barkley and Willian, all the lads around him getting the goals, I mean, you don't need to be bagging him as long as you're there and helping the team. I think Sarri will be delighted with him, and he's starting him game after game now.
And that's it. I think that's the confidence he's getting of starting every game. He's laying on a goal every game, at least a goal every game. And I mean, if he ends the season with 20 assists and 5 goals,
they'll be happy.
You won't be upset with that. He's a big target man. He's not going to score you 25, 30 goals.
But Hazard's going to get those 20, 25 goals. You can see it. You can see he's on for another 20, 25 goal season. And he just, if he can stay fit, he looks very dangerous at the moment. And again, another team I wouldn't want to come up against at the moment because they look full of confidence. They look full of different threats. They've got threats all over the pitch. We haven't even seen Alonso in the last few games, and we know what he can do if he gets into it as well. Kante in the midfield, lovely player, doing the right things for Chelsea. Looking all right at the back, and Kepa the keeper. I tell you what,
couple of stunners.
Game after game, he's doing it. I tell you what, he's looking a good. Those two keepers, Alisson and Kepa, big pressure with that money that's been thrown around and on their transfers. But both of them are coming up big at the moment and showing the goods. And Kepa doing a very, very good job. I'm very impressed by him at the moment.
Look, Kepa was hardly called upon, and I mean hardly called upon in the fact that even when the ball didn't get sent back to him a lot. Like, there was so little pressure on the Chelsea back line.
But they
weren't pushing it back. But 2 great shots. And he had to be awake for it, and he tipped them both onto the bar. I'll tell you what.
2 very similar saves, weren't they?
They were, and a lot of keepers wouldn't have made them, or at least made both of them.
Yeah.
And he made them look fairly comfortable. Yeah. Look, I still think they paid way too much for him, especially when they wouldn't pay 60 for Alisson, to turn around 2 weeks later and pay 75 for someone else.
Words of a Liverpool fan there, lads.
Well, but look, I think you did right. I don't think there's actually a great deal between them at the moment, agreed. And I think the only real difference is a bit of international experience that Alisson's got. But also, I'll take the lack of Cruyff turns as a positive for
Kepa. Final word on that game. Southampton had chances. Danny Ings should have buried that first half when it was 0-0. But as I say every week, and I said it to you, I hate Mark Hughes, and I'm glad they're doing terribly.
You've damaged them. You've damaged them, Mark.
I'm absolutely delighted that they're doing terribly at the moment while they're under him. I like Southampton as a team. I think they're well run. They've got a good academy, great ethos as a club. So I hope that they get rid of Hughes and they turn it round. Yeah. But he's got to go, and he's going to be gone soon. He's a terrible manager.
Look, I think him and Jukanovic are probably the guys. Well, obviously there's one other name beginning with JM that will be in deep trouble, you could argue, at the moment. But at the bottom of the table, those are the 2 guys that are under serious pressure, and I mean more pressure than Warnock.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Mark Hughes.
Warnock's pressure is nothing because no one expects Cardiff to do anything.
That's it.
If Warnock gets sacked, he's going to get sacked because it's just that at some point they're going to have to change it and give themselves the best chance of trying to stay up. But those other managers, their clubs expect it.
Look, if you're the Southampton board, Liverpool have funded you like to the tune of 150, 200 million or something in the last few seasons, and where has that money gone?
That's right.
And you're probably your best player this season so far is on loan.
Yeah.
So, look, as a manager, he's absolute rubbish. He's got to be gone. Get rid of him soon. Bring someone else in. Stay afloat so I can watch Premier League games when I go to England.
See you later, Sir Sparky, mate. All right, let's move on to one of the games with the most action and talking points in it. What a game this was. Newcastle against Man United. Fantastic game. Not a great game, I can imagine, if you're a fan of either of those teams watching. But as a neutral, it was absolute drama from the get-go. Newcastle came out the blocks. United were awful. Ashley Young, Bailly, a lot of them at the back. Yeah. Absolutely terrible. But Newcastle, our mate Kennedy, took advantage of that 2-0 up in 10 minutes. They were in dreamland, those Geordies.
And they could have been 3. I mean, Muto missed a...
He's got to score
He's got to score the second.
Got to score it.
Unbelievable. And 3-0, what does that do? Does that kill the game?
But then the pen as well. It's got to be a pen. What is Anthony Taylor doing? He's not even looking at the game.
Wasn't even looking.
That gets... As a football fan, I'm not even a Newcastle fan, and as a football fan, that pisses me right off when a ref makes calls. He's not even looking at the game. And if you're going to have decisions made like that are pivotal to matches, we need VAR in. And as much as VAR has been caused controversy in the World Cup, We need it for decisions like that.
How does he not consult the touchy? He knows he hasn't seen it.
How is he not looking at the ball?
Well,
what is he?
Step
First
one,
and foremost,
how is he not? He's looking at the goal like a spectator.
He doesn't need to be looking where he's looking. He needs to be looking at the free kick, where it's being taken from, and whether the ball hits the defence. Because the lino is looking down the line for offsides. So he's not going to be looking at the wall and whether the ball comes off a player or not. So you have to be doing that as a ref. Shocking decisions. Cost Newcastle a 3-0 lead, to be honest. And that's, I think it's the turning point of the game.
Well, look, it was interesting, wasn't it? I mean, Jose has made a big ballsy change in the 19th minute by pulling out, hooking Bailey.
Big hug for Bailly as well, big hug.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's obvious what he said, although he'd been pretty average in the 20 minutes he'd been on the pitch. I don't think he was taken as the worst of the defenders. It's not Lovren at Spurs last year, where you're playing so shit I have to remove you. This is, we need to change the shape. Unfortunately, you're the guy that's going to be sacrificed.
Also, as well, I think he did it because I actually think it was the right thing he did.
Me too.
Because I think what he did is McTominay should have been the one to come off.
Agreed.
But McTominay didn't come off because you just ruin his life. You take an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid off at that point in that game with all the fans watching at home, you ruin his career. That's it. It's over for him. You don't get over stuff like that as a kid.
I'll be honest, though, he was awful.
He was awful.
I mean,
but
he continued to be awful all
But
game.
I think it's the right decision because he saves that kid his career, because at that point you whip him off after 18 minutes, he's done. You can't play him again. No. He's finished. His confidence is out the window, and more experienced players might be able to recover from that. But a young player at a big club like that does not recover from it. So I think it was the right thing to do. And look, second half they rallied. They really rallied. And you give Mourinho, we called him out. We called you out last week, Jose. We called out Pogba last week. We called out your whole team last week. But second half showed proper spirit, showed proper fight.
Yeah, see, look, I'll agree with you, and I think they obviously got a rocket at half-time, but I don't think Pogba was very good. I thought Pogba was... Look, he improved, but I still thought, for a World Cup winning, string-pulling midfielder, he's still just not looking the goods for me. It was the other players that, Juan Mata, he must feel so weird playing for Jose. Jose got rid of him at Chelsea, didn't like him. Takes a great free kick. He's
free kick.
Come on and started a great revival, isn't he? And he looked great. Rashford's got to look at himself.
Shocking.
Couple of absolutely shocking misses.
But again, I think confidence is shot. When you're watching for England, he does the business.
That's right.
He gets in the positions. He's scoring goals for England. He's looking confident. I think his confidence shot. He doesn't want to play under Mourinho, and that's showing that in his performances. And I think there's a lot of players like that in the United team. I think we'll agree to disagree. I think Pogba was put in a role in that second half that was not the correct role for him. He was essentially a third centre-back. But I thought everything that was good at from United in that second half came through him. And he spread the ball. He got the ball into dangerous areas. He got shots off that led to chances. And I think everything that was good that came from United in that half came through Pogba. Even though he's playing in absolutely the worst. I don't know what... I've got no idea what's going through Jose's mind at the moment when he's putting his teams out, and especially his defensive lineup. He's putting McTominay centre back. Pogba was centre back for most of that game, most of that second half. I have no idea what's going on, but they made it through somehow. They got there. Alexis Sanchez got the goal to win it, and I mean.
Let's be honest here, though. Let's be frank. Yep, they won. They won 3-2 at home. Okay, great. Nice. You came back from 2-0 down.
Thanks,
great.
Newcastle.
Nice. You're playing Newcastle.
Yeah.
How many games have Newcastle won this season?
Yeah.
No.
How many goals have they scored this
Exactly.
season? And then they scored. I mean,
and they looked lethal against United in that first 40 minutes.
But I think that's where United have come to, Dave. I think that's where they're at now. I think games like that, comebacks like that, it's so important for them because at the moment they are in a massive period of transition, and when it will end, we don't know. But they are in a very unsettled time right now, and to get results like that from being 2-0 down, it's massive for them, and that will be a big boost for them going into the international break, having picked up 3 points rather than getting a point or losing at home to Newcastle.
Oh, losing would have been horrific.
Final word on the game. Rafa's got to be doing his nutting. 2-0 up, 67th minute. you're comfortable. Just see the game out. I tell you what, they looked unfit, Newcastle.
I feel for Rafa and I feel for Dubravka because boy, that guy made some saves.
He did his best job to try and keep a clean sheet.
He almost single-handedly kept them in the game, and I thought for long periods that he was actually going to keep it at a draw because he was playing beautifully. Yeah. And the goals that he conceded, I don't think you could really blame him for, and he had so many chances coming at him. But look, let's be honest. Before we go, and we don't want to go on about Mourinho because goddamn last episode was long.
We love you, Jose,
and it took me like 3 hours to edit. I don't want to go through this again. But let's just ask the question: How much is his job safe now? Do you think that's enough? Do you think it's just slowing the axe?
I think it's got that game has got nothing to do with whether Mourinho stays or goes. I think that the United had to win that game, but it's got no bearing on whether Mourinho stays or goes. I think what happens in the weeks following the international break are going to be pretty critical to Jose. What he does in the Champions League is going to be pretty critical. Only the next month will tell whether Jose stays or whether he goes. I think that they get a couple of wins on the bounce, then you can see Jose being the man again at Old Trafford. The fans are behind. The thing is, the fans are behind him. That's the thing at the moment. The fans are supportive of him, and so because of that, I don't think he's going to go. But if they lose their first game back from the international break, it's going to be the same thing all over again. Pressure's going to mount. They lose a game in the Champions League, it's game over for Jose, I think. And he's definitely treading a tightrope at the moment.
And as a week, I mean, drawing 0-0 at home to Valencia was a pretty average result.
It was very average.
So I think he was really teetering, and then the win's helped. Yeah. And especially before the break, because he gets 2 weeks of
It's the manner of the win, Dave, as well. It's the manner of the win.
But
the
it's
way
how short memories are in football. Yeah. And that's it. We'll talk in the preview show about what we think will come after the international break. You guys will have to wait an extra week for that. Yeah. Don't blame us. Blame the international window.
Mate, international window is the most pointless thing in the world. I don't even... Especially this international window. What is it all about?
Oh, this one's just... creating a competition to make friendlies not friendlies, but they're still friendlies.
Why?
And now this... just as you get in the flow.
Terrible.
Second one, Absolutely. 8 weeks in and our second international break.
Why don't they put it at the end of the season? Why don't they do this at the end of the season when no one gives a shit about it? Terrible stuff.
That is. But we won't go in there. We'll be here all day.
We'll move on to the big game of the weekend. The game between potentially the two teams that are going to be champions in this, potentially be champions. And Chelsea might have something to say about that
I think
as
we'll
well.
have a lot to say about
But Liverpool and City... billed as a massive game. It was rubbish. It was absolutely atrocious game. Both teams. I tell you what it does. And I'm gonna say this. I think it says a lot about how far Liverpool have come. That City have gone out to not lose that game.
Yeah.
Liverpool went out to not lose that game as well, which I was shocked. I didn't think they had that in them. But Liverpool went out to not lose that game. But Liverpool have come a long way when City will go out against them and set up to not lose. That shows the respect that Guardiola's got for you boys. And I tell you what, it was an awful game. But both teams didn't want to lose, and they picked their battles, and that was not the battle they wanted to pick. And they both, realistically, it should have been a draw. That was what it should have. The right result happened, but Mahrez has got to be burying that.
Oh, look, I think a draw was a fair result. And sitting there, I said this to you at the time, when Mahrez stepped up to take that penalty, there wasn't a single part of me that thought...
My mum knew he was going to miss. Everyone knew.
I didn't think he'd blaze it over. I thought he'd shoot tamely and Alisson would save it. But I just honestly didn't even for a second think, we're going to lose here.
Proper rubbish penalty, that was.
Rubbish penalty.
Proper rubbish.
I think he's missed 5 of his last 8 penalties in the Premier League.
What I don't understand, Dave, though, is that you've got, and I know they're saying that it came from the bench for Mahrez to take it, but Jesus takes penalties. David Silva surely must take a good penalty. The lad's a magician.
Bernardo
Silva must take a good penalty. Why are you giving it to Riyad Mahrez, who's renowned for taking poor penalties in the Premier League? It baffles me. It absolutely baffles me. He never looked like scoring, and that is an absolute gift that he's given to Liverpool, because that was massive for City. They get the 3 points there after such a tight, poor game.
It would have really stung.
Really stung going into the international break. It would have really stung and hurt Liverpool. But they've let them off the hook. Liverpool now will be looking at those 2 games, Chelsea and Man City, and thinking, you know what? We've gone to the bridge and we got a point. when we probably shouldn't have. We were 1-0 down and we probably shouldn't have. Hazard should have put us away and we would have been 2-0 down with 15, 20 minutes to go and Alisson's turned it round and saved it. They've gone to the bridge. They've got a point. And now they've got a point against City when Mahrez misses a penalty in the 84th minute. They're going to love that. They're going to be looking at it and thinking, game on. Season, game on.
I'm sick of saying, though, we haven't clicked, and how long is it going to be till we do? And I still think, like we said, Salah needs a rest. He hasn't got one. We talked about him getting one.
Now.
He hasn't had one. He needs it. I did read on Twitter that there was talk that he might have strained a calf, probably on the way onto the bus before the international window. And by strained a calf, I mean not travel and play on an international. Yeah. And, oh, man, I hope he does because he needs a rest. But, look, Virgil van Dijk, for me, was maybe the man of the match.
Yeah, he was great.
And I know you're going to
Joe Gomez, right? I thought Joe Gomez at right back.
It was an odd selection.
I thought he was very good.
I think Alexander-Arnold needed a dropping as well because he was awful midweek. I mean, we won't talk Champions League a lot here, but let's just say in that game, I mean, Liverpool were awful in Italy, and Trent Alexander-Arnold would have rated about a 3 out of 10. He had his worst game I've seen him play.
Yeah.
And I think dropping him was great because he's a boy that runs on a lot of fire in his belly, and I think it was good. But Joe Gomez played fantastically at right back. Lovren was dodgy, but he's always dodgy. But Van Dijk was the man of the match, and he kept it going. Yeah. And if the last minute penalty was his fault, and he conceded because of that, he would have been absolutely gutted.
He would have been gutted, and it was a pen.
It was absolutely
100%. It was a pen. But he would have been gutted and it was undeserved because he was the best player in the game. And I thought Joe Gomez, excellent. I thought Jordan Henderson was all right. I thought he did quite well. Broke up play and was busy and just typical Jordan Henderson. I just think the people that were creative in that game just didn't come to the fore. Yeah, Bernardo Silva looked withdrawn and deep and too deep in that game to really affect it. Where he's much better as that kind of last man. Sterling looked a bit tired. And looked a little bit kind of low on energy.
And he was copping it from the fans.
Yeah, he was copping it as well.
Anfield, I mean, there's no love for Raheem Sterling at Anfield anymore. And it's a bit of a shame because, I mean, the 13-14 season, he was one of the star performers. But
I've got an opinion
on that. He's the snake now, and we hate him.
I've got an opinion on that. QPR raised that boy 7 years at our academy. You had him for 2 seasons, got 50 million quid from him after buying for 2 million, and you're bagging him out in front of all. You should be lauding him. You got a great deal there. Yeah, he's done well for City, but I think that it wasn't the right club to be at the time he was there. I think it was the right move for everyone that he went to City. And I don't think he should have got the reception that he got from the Liverpool fans. But
it was the manner. It wasn't the performances. It's always the way when these players get hated. It's the manner in which they left. And he was a dick when he left. Yeah. Even Suarez was better. Even Coutinho was better. Yeah. He was a dick, and people hate him for it. But look, I agree. Brendan Rodgers, don't ever watch Being Liverpool. But the way he treated Raheem Sterling was just okay. Raheem, you're a special boy. You got a special character. It was awful. Like, if I was Raheem Sterling, I would have been packing my bags really under Brendan Rodgers. He treated him like terribly. But anyway, look, we're going way off here. Poor game, fair result.
Liverpool be the happier team out of the two.
Liverpool be the happier team, but I think you nailed it from the off. Pep and Klopp decided to not go at each other, and that's really weird from both managers. And I mean, for me, Klopp had more reason to because we're not clicking. Yeah. But why Pep didn't have a crack, I don't know.
It's going to be interesting the next game you guys play. What happens between now and then, and how that affects how both teams set up going out in that game. It's going to be very interesting. But yeah, look, not much to talk about other than that. In that game, it was a pretty rubbish game. Going to move on to one of the shocks of the weekend. Neither me or Dave called this one with the Watford-Bournemouth game, especially not 4-0.
Wow.
But it was a strange one because Watford started off really well and had chances at the early doors. Didn't take them, and then Bournemouth absolutely punished them.
Shredded them on the counter. Absolutely, I mean, their pace on the counter, and this
talked about this a lot this season.
We
as well.
have.
Yep.
Fraser, King, Wilson, a lot, and they're just the main three. Yeah. A lot of them are playing so confidently. Their counter setup that Eddie Howe's got them playing is as good as any counter-attacking setup in the league at the moment. And we're talking just piss poor conditions as well.
That was awful.
Absolutely bucketing down.
Yeah, it was.
And they were just hoofing across the pitch.
Yeah.
Just cutting Watford
Scored
apart.
some good goals, looked confident. What frustrates me about Bournemouth is they're one of those teams you just don't know which Bournemouth's going to turn up week in, week out. They're going to lose 4-0 to Burnley one week, and then they're going to beat Watford 4-0 the next week away from home. Like, it's just one of those ones. It must be a frustrating one as a Bournemouth fan to not quite every week turn up. And they play like that every week. They'd be smashing teams each week in, week out.
And yet this is their best start to a season ever
That's
in
right.
the Premier League. And we're criticising them for being inconsistent. But rightly so, because when they play like this, they show you how good they are.
That's right. And I mean, look, their front three are full of confidence at the moment now. Wilson and King up top are looking like one of the best pairings in the Premier League at the moment in terms of link-up play, in terms of sheer pace and power and goal-scoring ability. Little Fraser out in the wing, he's doing the business, getting the balls in the box. Great vision, great movement. He's doing really, really well. And I'll tell you what, Eddie Howe's done a tremendous job at Bournemouth. We've said this before, but with the budget they have, with the size of the stadium they have, with the fan base they have, the size of club that they are punching well above their weight, and they're doing a great job. And they put Watford to bed.
Look, Watford are now, I think...
Started off brilliant.
It's a concern now.
Yeah,
I think,
and now they've turned the other way.
Well, talking about how good they were after 4 games, being up there with City, Chelsea, Liverpool in terms of not being beaten, would you even put them in the top 10 right now? I mean, the last couple of weeks they've looked awful. The red card was, how many goes does he have?
What is he doing?
Good to see King back on penalties too, right?
Yeah.
Christ almighty.
Proper penalty taker.
Yeah, that's right.
Slotting them away.
But And that was like, if you're showing your boy, right, lad, I'll show you how to defend.
Yeah,
you show somebody, and this is how you don't defend that situation.
What I didn't understand was the first one, Dave, the first yellow. Cabaselli's had a good season so far this season, and we called him out in one of the previous episodes and said, been doing a fantastic job at the back, and he has been playing well. What is he doing in that first one? He's not going to win the ball.
No.
Why is he wiping Begovic out with an elbow? And he elbowed him. And to be honest, that could have been a straight red in itself.
Should have been.
Some refs send you off straight for that because he's led with his elbow. He's connected with him. He is really connected with him. And if Begovic was a different player, could have made a lot more out of that than he did. And he could have gone for that. Stupid decision to make to go in for the ball like he did for that one. But then when you're on a yellow card, don't do what you've done in the second challenge. And
one tug, 2 tug, and
he's
then
got the wrong
side.
Challenge. He's got the wrong side of him. Once he's the wrong side, you've got to let him go. You've just got to try and get back, but you've just got to let him go. You can't put, no matter how much you think you can get the ball, you cannot wrap around and try because you're going to give away a pen.
And he was playing for that. He was playing for the wraparound. You've just got to try and cut the angle down. And help your keeper as much as you can because you've lost the opportunity.
Yeah.
But he thought no, I'll make up for this. On a yellow, all of it was awful.
Head's gone. Head's gone, Cabaselli. Look, credit Bournemouth. Eddie Howe, fantastic job you're doing there, mate. Watford fans, you're going to be worried at the moment. Probably international breaks come at a very good time for you.
It has.
Can regroup, get your head sorted, get that confidence back, and look to try and get a win straight back after the international break because the form at the moment is poor, losing games, conceding goals, and not scoring many either. So I think that's 6 in 2 games they've conceded, and they've not scored any in 2 games. So that's worrying for them. So they'll want to turn that round. But look, let's go to one of the better games now the weekend. A very interesting game. We called it as well in the preview that it was going to be a good game. We thought there were going to be goals and chances. We didn't quite call the result right, but Everton and Leicester, cracking game.
Absolute cracker.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And look, I'll put my hand up straight away. I've been very critical of Gylfi Sigurdsson. I've been saying he isn't driving his team enough. Yeah. He isn't driving his team enough. He's not being consistent enough.
What a goal.
Maybe he's watching Top Bins because
what a goal. He's definitely watching Top Bins. Who doesn't watch Top Bins?
Well, you're right. You're right. That's right. Hey, Jose. That goal was an absolute peach. But this is a guy for the whole game that was driving them forward, and he, for me, goal aside, was the reason that Everton come away from this with the win.
Bossed it. You know what? I'm going to say it, Dave. I know you're not going to like this. You're not going to like it.
I won't because it's about Everton.
And I think because he's played for lesser teams, he's not got some of the credit that he deserves. I think he's very similar to Steven Gerrard in the way he plays. Ooh. I think that if he was in a top 4 team, I know he played for Spurs, but he was completely misused at Spurs. It was the wrong time, wrong move for him.
He was.
It wasn't the right thing.
Poor move.
I think if he played in a City or a Chelsea or an Arsenal or a Liverpool, I think you would see him being as influential a player as Stevie G was at Liverpool. And I don't care if that's controversial. I think he's got the lot. I think he's got the lot. I think he's got the passing range. I think he's got the ability to score every type of goal you can think of. He can header it in from 5 yards out. He can bend one in from 40 yards out. He's got the lot, that lad.
I'll tell you one thing he's missing if you're going to compare him to Stevie G.
Go on.
Defending.
Yeah, but that's not his role. He's a number 10. You slot him in beyond the strikers.
You want to compare him to a number 8? You're going to get.
I think he's that kind of player that can influence games. He can change games. He's a match winner. He's a leader of a team.
Yeah.
He's not a player that's going to shout and scream at players, but he leads by example. And I think Everton have got a cracking player on their hands there. And I think that goal just epitomises what he's all about. He's absolute quality, and his football brain is absolutely second to none, because you see the keeper slightly off his line there, and all he's thinking about is get it high, put it in the top corner, don't get it low, because the keeper's out, he's narrowed the angle, he wants to put it in the top corner. He knows exactly what he's doing with that finish.
And he drilled it.
Brilliant goal, Gylfi Sigurdsson, a brilliant performance again. 2 games in a row, you've been absolutely stunning. I hope you can continue that form, because you're a joy to watch. He's a very good player.
I'm not going to call him out again, because I don't want to see him keep playing like this, because it's Everton. But yeah, look, he was great. I'm not quite going to give you the Steven Gerrard call. We'll agree to disagree there. What I will say is, I think going forward, he's hugely influential. Yep. He dragged them up by their bootstraps this game. Yep. And that's what I've asked. That's what I've been saying these last few weeks. If he does that consistently, then, end of the season, we'll revisit that comparison. I might change my mind. But he is doing that job right now. He is driving the midfield. He's certainly been the general that we asked him to be. Yeah. Good on him.
Best player with a bog standard English name that is actually Brazilian on that pitch was Bernard. He was excellent.
He was excellent.
He was very good. Tormented that defence and that set up for Richarlison's first goal. Inside out, I loved that. That's proper wingers play. That is inside out, beautiful. Chopping one player, turning inside another. Look, Leicester defensively, they've got their fragility there at the back. Wes Morgan's probably over the hill. We called him out last couple of weeks ago. He's a walking disaster at the moment.
And what's going on with Slabhead, Harry Maguire? I mean, one week he's playing fantastic, scoring, keeping a clean sheet. The next week he's awful. The next week he's great. The next week there's no middle ground.
I think it's very difficult, Dave, when your centre back partner is not performing week in, week out. It's hard to carry that defence. And when you come up against teams who are looking good going forward and have got lots of attacking threats, you're going to get caught out and you're going to be in the wrong positions because you're trying to compensate for a defender who's not doing the right things, especially when he's getting sent off every other game. Well, Wes Morgan, I think you're done, mate. I think it's time to step down to the Championship. He's done a great service for Leicester, but that is their biggest weakness at the moment is their defence. So they're going forward. They're actually looking pretty good. They're creating chances. Maddison,
Vardy missed a couple that he probably could have tucked away. But look,
he's getting in positions. Though.
He is. He's getting in scoring positions. But I want to give a bit of a shout out to Digne. I thought he was absolutely fantastic.
Very good. Didn't start any games at the start of the season. Now Silva's kind of. He's eased him into it, and he's looking very good now.
He's up there with the best fullbacks in the league now, only after a few games. I mean,
bargain at 16 million quid, isn't he?
So impressive, so impressive, and he could turn out to be the type of level bargain like Robinson or someone like that. That becomes a first name on your team sheet, consistent 7 or 8 out of 10 every week from him, and cost you nothing. Look, great player.
Everton had lots of impressive players. Richarlison was good again. Walcott was good. They had good players all over the pitch. So hats off. Everton deserved the win. Could have probably won by a few more. Leicester played their part going forward, but defensively fragile, looked a bit ropey, and I think it's probably a blessing that Morgan's banned for the next game because they can get another centre back in and hopefully create a partnership.
But we said this last time, and Morgan walked straight back in after his suspension. Right. I think they've got. There's just so much of a he's our leader, he's our talisman, and while I get that, I think now it's happened again so quickly, they are going to have to revisit that attitude, definitely. Yep.
All right, let's rattle through the last ones because there's not a huge amount of talking points. With
there's one huge disappointment to come.
But we're going to go on. I want to first off give another shout out to Wolverhampton Wanderers. doing the business again, playing superb football. Nuno, you're doing it, mate. You come up, you live in the dream. You live in a Premier League dream. You're coming up with a team and you're not just going to teams and trying to grind out 0-0s, and you're the better team every game. And they went to Palace and they did the business again, David.
They did. They didn't even really look at any point for me that they weren't going to walk away with the points. I mean, it was a matter of when, not if.
They were fantastic.
Wolves, I cannot believe how well they're playing. I mean,
15 points already they're on.
That's right, and I watched them a lot in the Championship because when I started seeing these results coming through and these players signing for them, and I thought this has got to be worth a watch. And they haven't dropped style of play at all. They've done what's worked for them. They've taken it up a level, and it's still working for them.
What I've been so impressed by as well is that they've brought in new players. Players who've been injured, players who've been out like for the start of the season, like Caballero, and come in, and he's not even taken any time.
No,
he's straight into it. He looks an absolute boss in that midfield again. He could have scored another one, absolute rocket he hit the bar with again. He looks an absolute menace, and I tell you what, he's got options. Nuno's got, and I was going to call him Nuno Gomes, the famous Portuguese striker, but Espirito. He's doing the business for them, and he's looking very, very strong. And I'll tell you what, Wolves are well on track for a top 8 finish this season.
Oh yeah,
and they are by far and away for me the best promoted team that I've seen in the Premier League. And they haven't got the most points at this stage than any other team at this point that's been promoted, but they're playing the best football. They're the bravest that I've seen any team come into this league, and that has got to be something that we have to commend them for. Other than that, there wasn't much to talk about in this game. Wolves were brilliant, dominated, and were the better team in the whole game. Palace, got to worry. There's no goals. Where are they going to score goals from?
Even Zaha, look, he cut a frustrated figure, didn't he? I mean, I don't know where our boy Christian's gone. Who knows again? But
I don't even know if anyone knows if he's missing because there's no difference.
I don't think anyone gives a shit, to be honest. I think they're better without him there. Big concerns for Crystal Palace. They just look completely lacking of any ideas.
Yeah.
And I think a player like Gylfi Sigurdsson, who we've just praised for driving a team forward, there isn't one for Crystal Palace. There's no one in that team that's making them tick.
No.
And I think you look at Wolves, there's 5 players that are making them tick. We've all talked a lot about Ruben Neves. He's had a quiet couple of weeks, but he doesn't need to be at that level because
doing it.
That's right. There's 3 or 4 other guys around him that'll say, "Oh, you're not on it this week. Don't worry, I am."
Even Doherty, like one of the bit part players, one of those players who doesn't get any of the limelight.
Longest serving player at the club in the current ranks,
scoring goals and playing well, and that is what they are going to need all season. But hats off to them. Great stuff. We say it every week, and we're going to keep saying it the way they keep playing.
Best team in the Premier League at the moment, and by that I mean the unit.
Cohesive unit.
And that comes from Nuno, goes all the way down to the guys on the bench that are coming on every week and having a big impact.
All right, Friday night game. Brighton and West Ham.
My boy.
Your boy. He got his OAP pass for the night, and he was let out, and he went and scored another goal.
Well, it's tough playing a Friday night game because at that age you have dinner at 4:00, and that can make you a little bit lethargic for the late kickoff. But he shook that off, and he could have had 3. But West Ham, Brighton looked great in the first half. West Ham looked really poor. West Ham improved in the second half and Brighton fell off, but West Ham just didn't look good enough. And Arnautovic is clearly suffering from the injury.
Yeah, he is. And I tell you what, again, I just think this is what I was saying about West Ham. Are flattered to deceive, I think, in the last few weeks. Yes, they've picked up points, but they've picked up points. They've played teams at the right time. They've played teams who are not in form, where they have been able to get a few goals against them and get some confidence and beat teams like United. They caught Everton on a bad day, where they've been able to pick up points. But ultimately, I still think they're not good enough this season. And Brighton, who aren't... Look, if we look across that Brighton team, there's nothing outstanding that stands out in that team.
I mean, apart from Glenn Murray.
Apart from Glenn Murray. But Chrissy Houghton, we've said it before, he's organised, he's well drilled, his teams are set up well, they're compact, they do exactly what he's drilled them to do. Nothing flash there. No. West Ham couldn't get anything going against them.
Boisterous home crowd on a Friday night, loving a bit of Friday night footy, and he gets them playing well at home, doesn't he?
I'll tell you what, you're going to see more of that West Ham fans this season. There's more of those types of teams than there are teams like United who are out of form and not feeling it and very fragile mentally. There's not many of those teams in the Premier League, and you're going to come up against more teams who are well organised like Brighton that are going to nick a goal, and then what you're going to do? You're 1-0 down, and you're not good enough. You're not got enough quality in that team to do it. And I said it at the start of the season. I know. I put my hands up last couple of weeks and said, look, great results, fair play. But I still think you stink of it. I don't think you're good enough, and you're going to be there or thereabouts in a relegation battle this season. So
I did contact the screen printers. The stencil is made up. I have again told them not to make them, but
hold fire.
We're ready. We're ready. But look, this is what gets me about West Ham, and it really does. It's what you've been saying all along, even with the good form. And he's been a champ. He's taken it on the chin. He's gone after them. They've had a couple of good results, and he's taken it. But he knew. Just privately off screen, he knew this was coming, and this is a result that if they'd turned a corner, they at least pick up a draw in this game. Right. Yep. And it's the guys that have actually played really well in the last couple of weeks that played poorly this week. Yarmolenko, awful. Was really absolute off the pace.
Rubbish.
Arnautovic, I don't even think he should be playing.
Should have scored though. Last few minutes, had that chance where he got a cutback. He's got to bury that.
But he's injured, and it's clear, and you could see it on his face. You could see he's actually in pain.
Yeah.
Zabaleta, he's a bit like Maguire at the moment. It's like good 1 week, shit the next. Except it's more 2 for 1.
He's well past it, Zabaleta. He's not good enough for the Premier League anymore.
The guys we talked about in the last couple of weeks, and we actually said, look, okay, fair enough, you've stepped up, really stepped down this week.
Yep.
And Brighton will just do this to teams at home or seek help. They did it to United. They'll do it out. They'll do it to West Ham easy.
All right. Weird result this weekend. Weirdest result. Spurs against Cardiff. It was 1-0, but it was just weird. Eric Dyer scored of all people.
Oh, and I mean, how could he not? He'll never get an easier goal in his career.
Weird game. Spurs again. I'm just not convinced by them. They've not got enough depth for me to really mount a serious challenge for that top 4. They're not looking clinical enough, and I think, they did what they had to do against Cardiff, but some of their players are looking a little bit out of sorts. Son's missing some chances. Lucas Moura's looking dangerous in the build-up play, but not quite doing it.
A little wasteful for me after his great start. He's starting to. I think he's gotten a bit overconfident, and he's starting to be a bit wasteful. But the biggest concern for me was the lack of touches for Harry Kane.
Yeah. They played so deep, didn't he?
He did. They pulled him deep because he wasn't getting service, so he kept coming deeper to get the ball. And even then, he wasn't getting enough.
And they're doing it so that Moura can be the last man, so he can use his pace to get behind. But I don't think that's Spurs' strength, to be honest. I think they should keep Moura and Son as wide as they can get them stretching the play and creating space in the middle for Kane.
Pinging it in for Kane, and let them in all day.
Yeah, and letting Eric the Apple and Ericsson and all those lads get in and start to get in behind Harry Kane and create chances and let them fill those pockets of spaces. But I don't think it's the right thing to try and just say tomorrow you get in, you be the last man and you get on and try and score those breakaway goals. So I don't think that's what Spurs do best. And I think Poch has got to have a think about those tactics. He's a good manager. I'm sure he'll figure it out. But I don't think that tactic suits Spurs the most. Only other talking point in this game is Warnock.
I think the biggest talking point of the game, though, I'm not sure if you're going to call it, but the card,
the red card. I was going to talk about Warnock and what his criteria must be for a red card, because how he thinks that is not a red card is absolutely baffling me. What is he doing? What is Rules doing in that situation?
Awful.
We all know what you do there. Like anyone who's played football, you give him a tug. You stand there, you step across him. You just step across him and you block him. You don't slide tackle 2 foot.
You do not try and injure the player.
You don't try and take him out. I don't know what he's doing. He absolutely deserves a red card for that, and he's just cost himself 3 games for nothing.
How Warnock thinks that the surrounding the player is any factor at all. He was off the minute he started it.
An utterly dangerous play and a red card.
I'll never say I agree with Eric Dyer again in my life.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think I will. And the interview was awful. It was like interviewing someone who's just coming out of a coma. But he still
monotone.
said quite beautifully,
yeah,
you tug the shirt, you don't go to injure the player.
Exactly.
And he's bang on.
Yeah.
It was horrifically
Everyone knows
bad.
what you do there. You take one for the team, you take your yellow card, you pull him, you tug him, you give him a little shoulder barge, you do whatever you need to do.
You keep walking, you don't look at the ref. It's
Exactly.
yellow, you know it's
Put your
coming.
hand up, sorry ref, yeah.
There
But
you go, boys, I saved us a
you
goal.
don't lunge 2-footed into him when he's running past you, just and the ball's 15 yards away.
Just
strange decision. Anyway, not a great game for the neutral. Single goal in it. Tottenham will be disappointed, I think, by how they're playing at the moment. But at the same time, they're picking up points. So
one touch on them. A lot of players going away for international football in this break. They've got some injuries. But the key for me with them, as bad as they are looking going forward, I'm concerned about the defence.
Yeah.
I don't think defensively, and I mean all the way. I mean, Lloris has been making some howlers lately.
He has, yeah.
He's spent far too much time with Loris Karius for me.
Yeah.
Big problems at the back they need to sort in this break and come back and try and be a bit stronger. Hopefully 2 weeks off they'll feel a little better.
Yeah, all right. Burnley Huddersfield, absolute rip roarer on paper. What a game that looked on paper. It was all right.
It was actually
an
okay game.
I'm probably doing them a bit of a harshness there because it wasn't that bad a game. But both teams will probably come away from that. Huddersfield have got to be the happier.
Oh, 100%.
And Burnley got to be winning games like that at home against Huddersfield.
They do, and I think Huddersfield will walk away with that point pretty happy, especially after performing fairly badly at Cardiff earlier in the season. That's sort of balancing out.
Still not got a win
points.
though, so
still not got a win.
Are we worried about that?
Talking point of the game for me was the Tarkowski.
When he
having a wee scream,
in his ear. Yeah, I wonder what he said to him.
That was interesting. Yeah, it was a dive, but at the same time, we say this a lot, and we do sound a bit like a broken record at times, but it's because it just happens all the time, and you got to wonder with these guys. Don't give a referee a decision to make. But screaming in a player's ear on the ground like that and getting your face right in them. You're asking for a decision to be made. And if you're a referee that, I don't know, isn't looking at the ball like we saw in the United game, he sees that, sees the end of it, he might think there's been a headbutt. Who knows?
I got to tell you, I agree with you there, Dave, on what Tarkowski is unnecessary. But I also understand as a player, it is frustrating when a player dives and you do want to knock his block off when he's done it. I'll tell you what, I agree with Daishi after the game, what he said. It's an absolute disgrace the way the Premier League are handling diving. You truly want to stamp it out of the game, stop giving yellow cards for them, because it means that you can't review them afterwards. They can't be investigated afterwards, and it is making an absolute mockery of the game when you're doing that. A ref should be given free rein to give them a straight red, or allow it to be, don't give a yellow card, or dives be investigated directly after the game, because something needs to change in this game. And I'll tell you what, if players start getting direct 3-game bans because they're diving, they will stop diving. If they start getting 100 grand fines because they're diving, they will stop diving. If you give them just a yellow card for diving, they will keep diving, because every now and then it will turn into a penalty. It will turn into a free kick.
Oh, it's rolling the dice. I mean, of course you're going to have a crack.
And so the Premier League, if they truly want to change something here, they have to make the change in the legislation, in the law, and give the referees the power to be able to punish the player in the game, but at the same time be able to review it afterwards and give retrospective action to that player. Because right now, being able to just give them a yellow card and then it just be swept under the carpet and it not be investigated, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke, and I absolutely agree with Sean Dyche. It sets a terrible precedent for youngsters watching the game. I think if you want to stamp it out, and it needs to be stamped out, the only way to do it is absolutely throw the book at players that are doing it, and they will stop quickly. I promise you they will stop quickly.
Look, I agree, and as much as I was critical of his reaction, I understand it as well. I just think, as for him, he's such a key part of the Burnley team. I mean, I think he's still their top goal scorer. He's the absolute rock at the back. The last thing they need,
made in that game as well. What a slide tackle he made in that game.
But the last thing they need is any kind of strife for him, with it, even just a yellow card at the moment, because he'll end up getting a ban eventually, and that's a game they can't afford him not to be playing. But look, I agree, and Sean Dyche in that interview didn't, for me, sound a little bitter. Sometimes you hear these managers that sound a bit bitter about a decision that hasn't gone their way. I didn't think he sounded like that at all. I agree with you. I think he just sounded like a manager.
He sounded like he had a nasty throat infection. That's what he sounded like.
Yeah, he did. But he also sounded just fed up.
Yeah, he did.
And I think he's just seen enough of
I think
we all have.
I think he speaks for the majority of football fans that love the Premier League and love football, that want to see that kind of stuff stamped out of the game. So Premier League, sort it out, have a look at that rule and give the referee the power to do something, both in the game and retrospectively, to stamp that stuff out of the game, and it'll be gone.
It's another tip for VAR as well, isn't it, really? Totally. I mean, it's the sooner the better.
Yeah. All right, look, cracking week of Premier League football. Absolutely gutted that it's the international break, but there's some things we just can't control. So if you want to get involved in the banter, some things you can control is the banter over on the Facebook. So head over to facebook.com/TopBinsFantasy. Don't forget to give us a like, hit subscribe on the video below. We love all the support and everything, all the feedback we've been getting lately. So keep it up, keep it going. Let's get this Top Bins movement really going and spreading across the world. Thank you very much for watching us again, and we'll see you soon. Cheers. I say walk like they talk like they know, talking like they know. What do they know? Talking like they know. Maybe they know.